Alrighty. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, October 10th, 2023. We were closed yesterday because there was a bank holiday. Typically, bank holidays are very low volume, although yesterday proved to be kind of an exception to that rule. So we will look at what happened here yesterday, and I do want to review what happened on Friday as well, and then we're going to get into our pre-market this morning. So let's go ahead and jump back really quickly here. We're going to go back to Friday of last week. So the last time we were together before the holiday on Monday. And I don't recall specifically what we were talking about on Friday. If I look at my higher time frames, just to see what happened here. So yesterday, and this was coming into the 5th. So as we came into the market on Friday, this is what we saw. We saw that very pattern. Remember, a couple days before that, I told you the bottom was not in. What I expected to happen here was or at least the pattern that made a lot of sense to happen was to make this low on RVI, bounce out, come down, make a higher low on RVI, but see price come down and make a lower low. And I drew this on the charts a couple days back, way before we ever came down here, and told you this is the pattern I want to see before I have any faith in a bigger rotation. And then we came into that week, and then here is Friday's candle was this one. So as we came into the morning, we saw we broke out through the high of the signal candle, and now we had the very pattern that I expected that we would see before the bigger rotation would occur. And so going into Friday, we expected the bulls to be strong as long as we could get through the highs of the signal candle. Right? And then coming into Monday, which we weren't here yesterday, was the same deal. We saw the confirmation of our bullish potential on the daily because we broke out through the high of the candle. So going into Friday, we were expecting the push. And then coming in yesterday, if we did our pre-market, we would have talked about a push as well. In fact, I sent out a typed out report for what we would have wanted to use yesterday in terms of levels and bias. And the bias was to be long yesterday morning. And I sent it out. If you go into our little chat room here, see if I can pull it up. I shared with you guys an Excel file yesterday. And that Excel file had, let's see if I can pull it up. That Excel file had our plans of action opening right in between Friday's range. Despite a heavy bearish market, we have clues for a bullish bounce from last week's low. Bulls held above 50% the previous day. Good sign for our bullish clues. So in the overnight session, it pulled back and held 50% and was bouncing coming into the open. So all this stuff looked like we were pushing for higher highs. If the bulls do indeed to continue to follow through the out of the open, these could be trouble. There could be trouble, and then I gave you some levels above that would hold the market down. I gave you all the levels that made sense for support and resistance. I gave you what the major signals were that we were dealing with for going into Monday. So I sent that out yesterday. I'm going to start to send these reports out every morning. The reason I'm late here is because I was trying to prepare the report for this morning. Didn't expect to take this long to get this report going. So let's look at what the details and see what happened here on Friday and then into Monday again with a bullish bias on both days. So on Friday, this is what happened. The market opened and it was fairly choppy, right? It took a while for the bulls to finally follow through with the breakout. But what we would have wanted to see was that push up through the overnight high, or basically the high of the morning there, to have faith in that bullish rotation. So at some point, we got the breakout, right? It started to get strong. It ripped right through VWAP. There's your crossover on the short time frames. And then here, right here, is the high of the morning. Whoops, if I could pull this out. And as you can see, it just went ahead and ripped very strong right through it. Nice pullback to the FMA. And then as it came up, we expected there to be trouble right around 50% of the previous day in this swing that we were pushing into. Unfortunately, didn't really have much going on there except for the fact that it did break through, pull back, and then hold it to the tick here for the continuation up to our next expected resistance area, which was the holy orange power level. And guys, there's a reason we watch this level, and this is a very good example. I mean, it's literally to the tick. It comes to the level, and we get a major rotation during the intraday time frames. And it's, again, we see this all the time. So it pushed right to The next expected resistance, great place to take profit. And then pull back, of course, had to test into 50% of the day before there, our magenta line, and then continue to push as the day went on. And there's a beautiful example. Again, holds our scaffolding to the tick, pulls back, holds the high of the morning or the hopeful, our holy orange power level, and then you get a continuation to the upside. And then continued going, broke through the high of the day before, got through the major retracement we were watching and pulled back and kissed it to the nearly to the tick there for this huge rally higher. And you could have been buying these pullbacks as it got more and more aggressive on Friday. You could have been buying all these pullbacks with, again, nearly zero risk for a pretty insane pounce. And then here is the next retracement. We push through, pull back, hold it nearly to the tick, hold the FMA along this whole push. And then at some point at the end of the day, kind of petered out midday. And we notice what happened. We got below the scaffolding and held it here nearly to the tick to come down and test the 200 to the tick for a micro bounce. And then I don't recall exactly what happened at the end of the day here. I guess the bears had to pull it back, let the bulls get their in-breath here for more strength, and then went ahead and continued to pop. And I mean, there's your pullback to the 200 as it broke out to higher highs for the day. Pulled back to the 200 on two tests here, nearly to the tick. And then here you go at the end of the day. We come all the way up, peters out, and we get a little micro pullback at the end of the day there. So pretty awesome day on Friday. Very easy market to trade as long as you got in on some of these beautiful levels that we watched. Some great opportunities. And then that brings us into Monday of this week. So the Globex session opened and gapped down, right? But here's what happened. It gapped down, and in the overnight session, this is coming into yesterday morning. Look what happened. They tagged 50% of the previous day nearly to the tick, pulled back, held the VWAP here. Two great opportunities on Sunday night, I guess you could say. Holds it beautifully, and then we get this strong pop. And then as the market came in to the pre-market on Monday, I remember I sent that report out within the first, maybe even before the market opened, I don't recall, but right around the market open, and I gave you our bias, which was an expectation for the bulls to try to push higher. And then I gave you all of our expected resistance zones in that little report I sent out. And so there's the open there, that vertical white line. And as you can see, great opportunities off the 200 out of the open. Great opportunity to short the back end of the scaffolding here with very limited risk. Right, gets the pullback, but the bulls end up holding at the VWAP here. Great pullback to the 200 again. Comes up, fails right off of one of our roadmap levels nearly to the tick for a pretty significant rotation as the bulls pushed. And then as you can see, it breaks out through the high of Friday there and continues to push. And then the market finds trouble. And this is another interesting little thing that happened here yesterday. At the end of the day, the market came right to the retracement, had trouble, and interestingly enough, we get basically a nice little back and forth action here between the scaffolding and the retracement level. Again, nearly to the tick here for this tight consolidation right at the end of the day yesterday. Okay, so held the back end of the retracement, pulled back, and then held to the tick, and then held nearly to the tick. Our scaffolding on two tests here at the end of the day. So again, beautiful opportunities yesterday all throughout the day to get long, even get some of the rotations back down for the kind of the reversion back to the mean, and then maybe even reposition yourself on the bullish side as it broke out. So that brings us here into the overnight session coming into this morning. And again, notice what's happening here between our roadmap levels. We're still chopping inside of all this stuff over here. And again, pretty messy area, right? So everything between the scaffolding at 43.60, 375 to the scaffolding at 43.78 quarter, pretty choppy proposition, right? So that wraps up the review for the last 2 days of price action. Let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames and start putting together our bias here for the morning. We just